Eclipse version is called 2023-06. And in this bundle that you will see in the About dialog, it's called DevOps 2023-12. And there will basically be one such quarterly release, once release every quarter, where Model RealTime will be part of that. So next time it will be after first quarter, and then it will be called 1201 and so on. And there are still two brandings of this product available, both for HCL and IBM, and there is no difference in functionality between them. So the only difference is the licensing that works differently, and also the branding, for example, documentation, where you will see some differences. There are, of course, news in Eclipse, 1 year of updates that you can read about in more details here. I will show you some highlights soon that I think could be of special interest for Model RealTime users. But go to these links and study all improvements if you're interested in the details. So then looking at a few of the highlights, in Eclipse now there is a preference you can set in the text editor's preference page if you prefer that new editors that open always should word wrap by default. Previously you had to turn this on for every editor, which was a bit annoying in case this was something you wanted to have turned on by default. And this applies to all text editors, including the code editor. There are also some nice improvements that you find in the preference page under Run Debug Console ANSI support. So now the Eclipse console supports these control characters defined by the Select Graphic Rendition standard, or whatever we should call it. Basically, it allows you to use special control codes, and when you send those to standard out, the Eclipse console will interpret that to make the console look nicer. So you can use, for example, what you see here in the bottom right corner, to have underlined or framed or bold or colorful text in your logs to make them easier to read. There was also an improvement in the open resource dialog that allows you to not have to type asterisks if you want to search for the typed characters everywhere in file names. So I will show you that also in the demo in just a while. CDT was also uplifted, so now the version is 11.2, and there are lots of improvements. You can read about them on these links here. If you summarize it, you can see most of them are related to supporting C++ 20 and 23 in a better way. And like I mentioned, there is also a new version of eGit and an integration that we provide also with eGit, because eGit was uplifted from 6.2 to 6.6. And there are also lots of improvements in this area. And like I mentioned, there is a new known issue in this version of eGit that has to do with merging and rebasing, that it can fail in some cases with false conflicts if the commits involve model files together with other types of files. And that's the reason why we have marked this feature as experimental. And the workaround that can be used is that in case you run into this problem, you can abort the merge or rebase in the UI and do it instead from the Git command line. And we are working on trying to resolve this issue for the next release. And also like to mention that as part of the rename, the online documentation has moved to a new location. So there are basically two versions depending on the branding. So the HCL version is on Model RealTime HCLdoc.com, and the IBM version, you see here the link where that will publish. I believe the Model RealTime HCL version is already live. The IBM version will probably go live in 1 or a couple of days, so you cannot use that link right away. Okay, so then let's take a look at the tool. So this is Model RealTime 12 running in, say, Eclipse 2023-06, and here is the new product icon that you will see in a number of places. This is the new About dialog. So let's take a look at some of the improvements here. So if we open an code editor that contains code that has quite long lines, you typically end up in this situation that you need to scroll horizontally a lot. And previously, the way to handle that was to use the editor toggle word wrap command, but then it will look fine. But if you then closed it and open another editor, you have to repeat that again. So it was a bit annoying. So now Eclipse has added a preference here. It's under general editors, text editors, where you now can set this enable word wrap when opening an editor. Then all editors will open in this mode where word wrapping is turned on. Then we have the improvement related to console output. So here I have a sample application where I use some of the possibilities. There are more things you can do with this. You can even have blinking text if you're fond of that. But here are some, I think, useful control codes that you can use now in your application. And if we run this application, I think it's already built. Here you can see how a typical example how it can look like on in the console Eclipse. And the last feature I like to highlight is that if you use the Control-Shift-R open resource dialog, you can now just type any string and it will search for that string in all parts of the file name. So previously you always had to remember to put an asterisk in front to accomplish that, but now that is no longer necessary. So if you want it to search only in the beginning of file names, you can type this greater than character. Then it will filter the list to only show those matches where the typed word appear in the beginning of the file name. So that's quite useful. And of course, you can also then use here if you want to navigate from or open the file, this dialog. Okay, any questions on the new Eclipse? I mean, there are many more improvements, but that we will not have time to go through today, but please look at the links in the new presentation and read about them. I can also show you this is the new documentation. So it's on Model RealTime HCLdoc.com, and here you have the release page for this. The slides I just showed you are available here, so you can go through them in your time. And here you can also find the updated installation instructions for this version of Model RealTime 12.